If Richard was a whiskey,
what would it be? Well, it would be...
Oh, he'd be smooth, he'd be mellow.
Well, I could probably say sweet.
Complex, aged.
I'm not going to possibly say what age Richard would be. He'd be well matured.
The memories I have of whiskey go back when I was very young. When I tried the whiskey for the very first time, the impact of that alcohol hitting my nose made my eyes at that time water. And I really thought, what is this? Why would anybody want to drink this stuff? But I didn't realize that actually the nose, the fumes, everything about it was going to be putting me in good stead for later on. My father was a broker and a bottler. He had his warehouses in Stockwell Lane in Glasgow, and he had one small company, Paterson's Best.
That kind of beginning gave him the passion for whiskey. His father insisting that he came out with proper words that properly described what he was smelling.
Today, when I do my work, my father is really beside me because it's his inspiration and it's through his dedication that I've got the job today.
The key things to become a malt master or master blender really is, first of all, is getting that nosing training. Be able to describe what we're nosing. We need to be able to see if there's any off notes on the new spirit or any off notes that may have been picked up in the wood.
A true master distiller must have a very deep understanding of where flavour comes from during production and maturation. From way back, the people working at distilleries would say the wood makes the whiskey. And there's nobody who understands that better than Richard.
He knows what he's looking for almost before he actually starts out. He's got this in his mind that I'm looking to actually subtly change this whiskey to add whether it's spiciness to it or complexity or vanilla notes.
You've got to have a creative streak and not be afraid to try new things, and sometimes they don't work. But if you're someone like Richard, normally they do because you've got so much experience of how to do it.
There's always trial and error at every step.
You've really got to care. You've really got to be passionate about what you're doing, and Richard is a prime example of someone who is truly passionate.
If you don't have that passion, you're not going to have anything. So you must have that commitment, you must have that drive, but you must work also with the right people to help you formulate that special identity of your whiskey.
His career has coincided with a gradual rise of popularity of single malts, particularly from the 1980s onwards. He's played a significant part in that.
The expressions that he's brought out over the last sort of 10 years has been amazing.
Over the last, say, 10 years, I think we have created some really exciting whiskies. I'm really immensely proud of them. And the ones that we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years are going to be even greater. Have I made the perfect whiskey? The answer is no. I mean, you've got to continue. You've got to look to see what you can still do that will make your whiskey different.
Richard is unstoppable, is always somewhere around the world preaching the beauty of whiskey.
I don't care if it's 500 people or 12 people or one person. The passion that I have would always remain the same. And people will still come up now and then and say, I remember when you taught me how to drink whiskey, and I've never looked back since. It's cost me a fortune, but that's something different.
In New York, once, in front of 1,000 people, we did a whiskey tasting, and he was riveting in his knowledge, energy. He's a living God when it comes to whiskey.
Hugely entertaining, very engaging. His presentations are substantial, but dressed up to be fun.
When I'm introducing whiskey, quite often I'll swirl the whiskey around the glass, tell them to hold it long in the mouth, but you've got to make an impact. That's important, and people do remember.
And the Scotch whisky industry is all about kind of putting on a face and a little bit of a showman, but to be down at heart, he's really a very caring person.
He's very kind, he's very funny.
He's had massive beneficial influence on the understanding and enjoyment of Scotch whisky. And, well, I mean, in short, he's a legend.
When I look back over the 50 years, you may say, well, do you have any regrets? And really, when I sum it up and when I look back and think of the whiskies and people that I've met on the way have been so wonderful. I've got many memories when you come into my, sample room, or even when you come into my office. It's full of things that people have given me and really means a lot to me. So, regrets? No, I don't think so.